Users of Reddit, what's your fuck this, I quit story? Was at a job for 3 years, consistently in the top 3 of my department in terms of performance. Asked my supervisor repeatedly if I could be recommended for advancement or promotion, and he always told me he was trying his best to get me new opportunities. Found out from a friend in a different department that I'd been considered a top candidate for 4 different promotions, and each time my supervisor had blocked it. When I confronted him with this information, he told me it was true, and he did it because I could never find someone who does what you do without paying them a lot more. Internally said fuck this, I quit and found a new job within 3 months. Took all my PTO, and on the day I came back I quit 2 hours into the day, leaving him high and dry at a peak time. I worked for a company for over a year that was contracted to make deliveries for Amazon. The vans they equipped us with were terribly maintained, and fully unequipped to handle winter weather. I worked with the company through their first winter, which meant sliding all over the road when it was icy and getting stuck constantly every time we had snow. I never had a major accident, though I did have 2 or 3 close calls where only minor damage was incurred to the van. I decided to stick it out through the summer, when the weather was obviously much better. All summer long they promised us that new and better vans were coming. September rolls around, no vans. October, no vans. November, no vans. That month we got our first real snow. I got back from my route and immediately put in my notice. My boss told me they would be getting new vans by the end of the year. I told her that was nice and walked. I was in the same position for 2 years and was actively looking at other positions within the same company. Bosses knew about it, it was just time for a change and to advance my career. Great opportunity came up and I was offered the position. However, my current leadership blocked me because I received a promotion 6 months prior. That promotion was literally an automatic email that said congrats, you're now level 2 instead of level 1, because I had met my sales attainment and completed all my yearly trainings. Literally an automated email stopped me from getting promoted, and bosses said I had to wait another 18 months. Left that company and went to a competitor doing the same thing for better pay and significantly more support. I had a manager who was just trying too hard. Our team meetings were just yelling sessions because we did not work as fast as she expected. She would commit 2 days to the client for something that would take 3 weeks. She got her comeuppance when more than half the team quit within a month of each other. I gave her 15 days notice. She told me I should stay for longer, else she'll make sure I'll never be able to work for the company again. I was willing to sit with her and help her with the tasks handover in the 15 days, but once she threatened me, I told her I was not staying longer and enjoyed my 15 days notice. I had a similar experience. Went in to give my 2 weeks, even offered to work on my days off since I would be switching to retail and would have 2 weekdays off. The director spent time telling me how useless retail jobs were, that is was a bad career move, etc. I worked at a daycare. I informed her most of my friends were in retail. My best friend was a manager who definitely made more than any of the teachers there. She tried to backtrack. I said goodbye and left at my lunch once my relief came, and I wrote out detailed notes on each child's schedule, likes, etc. I became assistant manager of the store and got benefits and better pay starting the next day. Fuck that. I was 20 and had been working in a call center for just over a year. I was promoted to an assistant manager with a new compensation structure that was identical to the other assistant manager. Basically, you got your wage, a very small percent of the total office revenue, and then 10% of your own revenue from when you worked on the phone. My immediate manager and office supervisor gave me this without confirming it with the regional manager, who was on a 2-month vacation in the Dominican Republic. When I got my first check after being promoted, there was no bonus. I was told it would be corrected soon. When I got my second check after being promoted, there was no bonus. I was told it would be corrected soon. When I got my third check after being promoted, there was no bonus, and I was told we had to wait for the regional manager to come back and authorize it. I was being paid weekly and worked another 4 weeks under the premise that I would get a lump sum when the regional manager returned. The problem was that I sold significantly more than the other office manager. The back pay had grown to such a large amount that when the regional manager did return, he questioned why the office manager had given me this structure, as he considered it to be too much money. On my next check there was no lump sum, and I was told that they were figuring out a new structure. My following shift I stayed home and got a frantic call from the office manager asking me why I wasn't at work. I told him I couldn't afford to go to work. He said, "Why can't you afford it?" "Because I have been getting ripped off for 2 months, call me back when you have my money or don't call me at all." Never did get paid. My dad taught me that you have to get this type of thing in writing before you start selling. I had a company give me a fantastic commission structure, but then took 6 months to give it to me in writing. They would ask me why I wasn't selling and I kept telling them I would start as soon as they gave me the structure in writing. After paying me based on the structure, they altered it 2 months in and changed my position as it wasn't fair to the company. Currently in the US military. Was back and forth about re-enlisting for another 4 years, have done 9 to this point. I have a 3-year-old daughter at home who I haven't seen in almost 2 years for more than 3 weeks. Was talking to an officer in my chain of command when I told him my thoughts. I had just received orders to remain overseas for an additional 2 years. His exact words were, "You've already missed 2 years of her life, you can afford to lose 2 more. I went to my command career counselor office that day and signed my intention to separate. Edit, just because some people are confused by wording. The officer meant I've already missed 2 years, I could afford to miss 2 more since I've already know what it's like." I was a new sous chef at a country club. Chef wouldn't let anyone but himself do the ordering. His ordering method was to go over a sheet of paper hanging on the line where people wrote down what we were out of. Not what we were nearly out of, but what we were completely out of. Any time I'd try to add items that we were close to out of on, he'd lose his shit. We were constantly out of things. One day, we had a huge Easter breakfast event. Dipshit chef didn't order near enough eggs and we were out of all sorts of other random items. I was out front making omelets for members. Ran out of eggs and stood around for 15 minutes waiting for more while the members became increasingly frustrated then angry. Went to the back to see chef yucking it up with the FOH manager. Handed him my apron and told him to pound sand. Was at that job for less than 2 weeks. I interviewed for a corporate accounting role because public accounting was much less pay, and a lot more hours. Was told in the interview that it was show up between 8 to 9, leave between 4 to 5. There'd be no more working late nights, or having to work on weekends, which was great. I took the job, and within 2 months realized they were lying through their teeth. First off, there was absolutely no training on their processes. I was given enough work for 3 people, with no direction on how to do it. My manager was so scatterbrained, he could never give me any help when I asked. No one talked for 8 hours a day, and it was just an unbelievably bad work culture. I'd get to work usually at 8:30 and leave at 4:30 while eating lunch at my desk. I came in one day and was told, "Since you're leaving so early, I can only hope you're working from home." Then the next week, we're told we have to come in for a full day Saturday because we had New Year's Day off that Monday. My final straw was when I left at 2:30 one day for a doctor's appointment. When I came in the next day, my manager pulled me into a room and said that I didn't have enough accrued PTO to do that, and he was going to dock my pay, in a salaried position. Went in the next day, told him it wasn't working out and put my 2 weeks in. On my last day, he told me I could leave at 11:30 so I did. When I got my final paycheck, he docked my pay for the remainder of that day. Luckily, the recruiter who got me the job followed up to ask what happened, and I was completely open and honest with her. Apparently, that manager has a very high turnover rate for the position I was in, and the recruiter told me that the CFO is looking into replacing him. Arrived at the bar to work my shift only to discover that the owners had sacked my manager because there was, in their view, too much wastage. At the time, he was recovering from major surgery on his arm, he had 3 young children and an 8 months pregnant wife. They thought they were losing money because not every drop of beer poured went into somebody's drink, which is just a fact of life in a bar, and not because their idle toe rag son, brother, father, son owner duo kept coming in with his mates and demanding we give them drinks they didn't have to pay for. Quit on the spot, went to the manager's son's christening a while later. A year or 2 after that was told the bailiffs had come to visit the bar and left with quite a lot of furniture. Couldn't have happened to bigger cunts. I was working in a particular role for a small charity, it was already a busy role, but then due to changes within the company my role got ridiculous. I was the senior manager looking after the budgets and accounts and acting as an accountant, so suddenly had to teach myself all about charity tax law, which is not easy. I was managing marketing, media, communications, strategic implementation, a reception and all customer service, a physical and online shop, 10 members of staff, legal compliance including insurance and data protection, health and safety, HR, reporting and end-of-year audits, preparing papers for and attending trustee meetings, procurement as well as general meetings. To the point where my job had gone way beyond my original job description anymore. Anyway, despite all the extra responsibilities, my boss still expected me to have time to do everything to an extremely high standard and couldn't possibly understand that there would be any reason that I was overwhelmed apart from me being shit. Strange how everyone in that place also complained about being overworked, and that at one point the staff were going to go to the trustee board to see if they could get him replaced. It was always everyone else's fault. He sat me down at my 12-month probation meeting and said that I wasn't doing well enough to be given the job permanently, so he wanted to extend my probation by another 3 months, in which time he must see improvements. And what did I think I needed to improve? I said that I had been telling him for months what I needed to improve, which was for him to take the fact that everyone was overworked seriously and his expectations of what a human being could achieve were ridiculous at best, which was apparently never going to happen, so I quit. He said he didn't want that, I said I did, and just quit. It had been on my mind for a while, but that pushed me over the edge. A part of me wanted to stay, to go to the probation hearing and let everyone in HR know exactly what he was like, but I was just so done with the whole thing. Best decision ever. I now have an amazing job I love for a different charity that actually values what I do, and it feels great.